What is up, everybody? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 26. We're deep into the Ginger Runner Live stuff, and I'm loving it. Tonight's show is super special. Very excited about it. This last weekend was an incredible race here in Southern California. One of the most difficult hundreds in the United States. It's just tough. It's super brutal, very tough. And three guests are joining me tonight. They're friends of mine, and they all finished the Angeles Crest 100-mile endurance race this weekend, and they all have individual stories. An incredible adventure for all of them. I am joined by the man that I paced and crewed, Mr. Billy Yang.
Hi, everyone. I just ran 100 miles.
He just ran 100. Mr. Ninth Place himself, Mr. Guillaume Calmettes.
Woohoo!
Finally joining us on Ginger Runner Live. This man is a beast, an incredible runner, and French.
My pleasure.
He's very, very French.
And that voice, is Mr. Jimmy Dean Freeman, a good buddy of mine, a guest of the show previous, and now he's 4 deep in his 100-mile race quest. 4 full hundreds ran in the last month, Jimmy?
4 in the last 8 weeks.
Unbelievable. So obviously tonight's show is fully stacked. I'm really excited to get into it. I'm having tech issues on my end, so you're not going to get an intro credits video with the music and stuff. So I'm just going to have to sing it. Ginger Runner. That's it. Welcome to the show. If you guys are watching live, join us in the chat room. We have Sally McRae in there. I've already seen her jumping around, chatting and asking questions and stuff like that. So join her in the chat room. Ask questions. I'll see her probably answer some. I'll try to ask them of our guests tonight. I'm just super excited to have these guys on all together, all to talk about their journeys, because they're all very distinct and very different. Running a 100-mile race is no joke, and the requirements that you have and you put on your body, physically and mentally, I have yet to experience it, only from an outside perspective. So these guys experienced it firsthand, one of which for the first time ever this last weekend. So I want to start actually with Guillaume. Guillaume is just an incredible athlete. If you follow him on Strava, which I recommend if you want to feel bad about yourself, his training is through the roof. I believe you logged a 170-mile training week. Is that correct, Guillaume?
Yeah, it was a 7-day period, 100 miles, 70 weeks, and 70 miles, 170 miles.
Yeah, because, what else you got going on? Apparently a lot of running. He, for a training run, you actually might remember him from one of my videos, Training for Squamish, when we were running along the Angeles Crest 100 trail. Guillaume was logging, correct me, Guillaume, I think it was a 26, 30-mile run on Saturday, another 26, 30-mile run-ish on Sunday, and then 45 miles or something on Monday?
I mean, in fact, I did the race in 3 days. It was, I guess, the Memorial Day weekend, so we had 3 days. So yes, I did the first 26 with you. Then the day after that, I did again 25, and the last 48 on Monday by myself. But
just incredible, just absolutely incredible. So describe the race for you, Guillaume. So this is not your first 100, but it's your first 100, like really going for it, right? I mean.
Yes, I mean I had trained a lot for it, and it's a race close to my heart because. I mean, it's very close where I live, and I mean, I run every time with like Dominic, Jimmy, Jorge. I mean, all of those incredible athletes, and they show me the race, and they basically taught me everything you have to learn when you want to run a 100-mile. And so, I mean, the race is amazing. I mean, even for the crew, I mean, I think this is one of the best races in the country for the crew because it's very easy. You see a runner every 5 to 10 miles. I mean, the atmosphere is electric. You have everything. So, I mean, I trained a lot for it, and most of the day I had a good experience. I didn't want to start too fast, and I didn't do that. I think
I was going to say,
yeah.
The first time I saw you, it was at the Inspiration Point aid station, which for those of you who are not familiar with the course, this is what, mile 13-ish, guys?
I think 9, yeah.
Oh, okay, mile 9, so even earlier. I had already built a 4-minute lead on the next runner that ran in behind you. So you ran through the aid station, and everyone's like, oh my God, Guillaume is flying. And this is, mile 9, and you had already put up a 4-minute gap. So you ran fast from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I felt very, very good. I mean, what I did that I didn't look at my watch for the first 9 miles. I just wanted to go by feel, and the climb felt very, very easy. And yeah, I was 3 minutes on the record pace at the first station, then 6 at the second station. And when I realized that, I mean, my father was like, "Hey, you know, you're 6 minutes on the record pace." I was like, "Whoa, maybe I will have to slow down." So that's what I did, and the guy caught me. And I mean, I had fun the whole day. And yeah, I mean, I had I think a pretty good race until mile 88. And then, I mean, things started to get nasty. I mean, my quads blew up. And unfortunately for me, it's the last 11 miles are just down. So I had to walk the 11 miles with my pacer. I was so sorry for him. It was Christophe. Thank you, Christophe, for that. And yeah, so we walked like, you know, like a grandpa. I was like, he was holding my hand basically, and still it was fun. I mean, it was nice.
I have to commend you on your attitude, because a lot of people who attempt a 100-mile endurance race suffer a lot. And Jimmy, we'll get to you in a second. A lot of people just can't even grasp the idea of running 100 miles, let alone 100 miles through mountain ranges where you're at altitude. You have 8 or 19,000 feet of elevation up, then another 23,000 or something down. It's just mind-boggling. Was there anything that you did specifically for this race that you felt like you dialed in and nailed from the start? Like, are we talking nutrition or maybe the shoes, you know, stuff like that? Anything that you feel like you did right up until that point when you blew your quads at mile 80?
Yeah, I mean,
88?
I think I was right on nutrition and hydration. Actually, I mean, so in this Angeles Crest 100, basically they weigh you every 25 miles, and my weight was stable. So I mean, I think I did a pretty good job on that. My nutrition was, I had both gels, waffles, sandwiches. I mean, I had different categories of food, and at some point I couldn't, for example, eat some gel, so I switched to another one. I mean, I could eat, I mean, along the race, everything was okay. So I think nutrition-wise, I mean, I nailed it. So the shoes was a bit different. I mean, my feet were hurting from mile 40, so I may have done something. I mean, there is this road section. You have 2 to 3 miles section, and the shoes I chose were the New Balance 00 Trail V2, and they have big lugs. And at that point on the road, I was clearly feeling the lugs on my feet.
Right.
So, and there is no rock plate, so I mean, you can clearly feel that. So the feet started to hurt a bit on that.
So you're thinking it was a lot of the downhill, like bombing the downhills, that ended up resulting in blown quads at mile 88?
Yeah, probably. I mean, the thing that the race, I mean, was amazing because the whole day we were just leapfrogging with the leaders. So, I mean, I got past by Jorge and by Chris Price. Then I caught them back, and I was in the lead again. And then Dom flew by me. It was incredible on the Cloudburst Summit climb, and basically was ahead. And then I caught him back at Shortcut Saddle. And at that point, you have a long downhill. It's like 6 miles, I guess. And so I started to run fast on that, and Dom was with me, so we were talking and going fast. And then Ruperto flew by us. I mean, it was amazing. So I guess maybe on this downhill, particular downhill, I may have pushed too much a little bit, but I mean, that's a game. I mean, no regrets. I mean, I had an amazing time. No regrets.
Yeah, I remember. So we stayed up extremely late. Myself, Josh, and Sally, who were crewing and pacing Billy. We stayed up pretty much all night because we wanted to see first place, second place, third place guys finish. So when we got to the finish line, which is in Altadena, we saw these guys cross the line, and we're also trying to get online and find out where you are and where Dom is, because we've been following you guys all day. And when you have limited cell signal out there, all you hear is word of mouth, and it sounds like you guys were leapfrogging between aid stations, where one time you'd run in first, and like 1 minute behind would be Dom, or then Dom would jump ahead in 1 minute, or Jorge or Ruperto, and it just kept jumping back and forth, and we could not keep track. And then to hear that you had blown quads was so devastating to hear that, and then to see you hobble to the finish line was one of the most incredible things to see. You had been walking and pushing for the 12 miles essentially, but you were holding your quads almost in, like you couldn't. You physically were pushing your quads in because they wouldn't work, and you couldn't run to the finish line. It was there 10 feet ahead of you, and you couldn't run to it. You had to walk, I mean, literally baby steps to it. It was an incredible sight, but you still managed to cross.
I think that's a good description, baby steps. That's a good description.
So what's great about this particular race, so this is my first time experiencing it, as or I guess Billy had been before crewing and pacing. Is that right, Billy? So
I've crewed and paced several times before, yeah.
And Jimmy, you've been there a number of times.
I've been involved with every Angeles Crest 100 since 2006.
So Jimmy, now let's talk about your story. I only saw you at aid stations. I know that you have run this race before. You've done very well at this race before. But every time I saw you, you, one, had a smile on your face. Two, like, gave me a high five or said hello. Or three, threw the fuck up. Like, you threw up everything. So I know, and hopefully you guys out there who are watching this live know, that Jimmy is 4 100s deep into his quest for the original 600-mile races. So he's already done now he's done 4 100-mile races over the last 8 weeks or whatever it is. And that fact alone is insane. That is insane. So coming into this race, Jimmy, what were you thinking? What were you prepping in your mind? You've run this race before. You're very familiar with how difficult it is. Was there anything that you were going to do differently, or was it just about survival for you from the beginning?
Well, let's start with the Cliff Notes version of the backstory with AC. Angeles Crest was my first 100-mile race, like Billy, and it was my second 100-mile race, which was my first ever DNF of any race at any distance. That was 2006 and 2007, and then I took 2008, 2009, 2010 off, but in 2008 and 2010 I crewed and paced other athletes, including Josh Spector in 2010 at his first 100-miler, which was AC. And so I've now attempted the race 6 times. I've crewed and paced it twice, and it's a race that is more meaningful and special to me than any other race. I've never done any other race 6 times.
Wow.
So putting this one as the 4th race of 6 was going to be an interesting challenge, because whenever I've done Angeles Crest prior to this year, it was either my only focal point race or it was the first race leading into the summer. And I had never done 300-mile races in the same calendar year, or completed 3. I attempted 3 one time, but I've never completed 3 in the same year. So AC I knew was going to be hard. I've suffered more there than any other race. And I thought to myself that I might have a little bit of a tactical advantage because I know the course so well. I know what was going to suck, and I knew where I could kind of make up some time here and there. And the first 3 races in this challenge, you know, I had a 7-mile low in the first one. I had a 7-mile low at Vermont. Western States was an end-to-end joyride, so we're talking like 14 tough miles out of the first 300. The pain, discomfort, and physical duress at Angeles Crest started at mile 18 and did not let up for 82 miles. And I would say that the thing that really carried me through was knowing probably 70 people of the 130. Does anybody have the official starting number?
Oh, look at that! And then she disappears. I don't have the official starting number. I know that there were 53 DNSs, I think, out of 150 registered runners or something like that.
199 people had bib numbers.
Okay. Okay, so then it would have been 148 or whatever that is, or 147.
I would say that I knew more than half the race personally. So whenever I came up on a runner or a runner came up on me, more often than not, we knew each other on a first-name basis. So the suffering took a back seat for a lot of the race because I was interested in talking to people and seeing how they were doing and what their story was. And I never saw Guillaume. I didn't even see him at the finish line when the gun went off.
I was waiting for you for the last 12, but...
Yeah, Guillaume essentially vaporized at the starting gun, and I didn't see him until the picnic that they throw afterwards. But Billy, I got to spend quite a few miles with in the middle of the race, and that was freaking awesome. And I hated him openly for looking so good and feeling so good for most of the day, which he bragged about a little bit. And you know, my first true crisis was about mile 57. You drop into a little bowl, a little canyon off of Charlton Flats, and you start this really steep but short climb up to the shortcut checkpoint. And I've had trouble on that climb before, but my pacer Jenny, who is running her first 100 miler in 11.5 days at the Leadville Trail 100.
Yep.
Jenny was hiking up with me, and she's just a little chatty Cathy, like Energizer Bunny of energy. And I suddenly had trouble taking a deep breath. And as I was hiking out of that canyon, I started to get really faint, like I was going to pass out. And suddenly, any conversation became annoying because I couldn't breathe. And I just sort of grumbled at Jenny, like, please stop talking. Like, we got to get to the top of this climb. I can't breathe. It was probably a couple of F-bombs in there. And when we got up to the shortcut aid station, I sat down in a chair, and when I got my heart rate down, I still couldn't take a deep breath, and sort of felt like I was breathing through a straw and that my lungs were filling up with fluid. Now, my first ever DNF at Angeles Crest in 2007, I had that exact same experience, and it was the experience that led to me dropping out of the race. So I kind of went into a little bit of a panic mode, and I had a lot of people around me offering a lot of advice, and I was kind of thinking to myself, like, this is it. I'm done. I've got fluid in my lungs. I can't take a deep breath. I've got 40 miles to go. There's no way that this is still happening. And Bill Ramsey, who was working the aid station, ultra legend, and Danny Westergaard, another ultra legend, who wasn't working the aid station. He just happened to be spectating like 2 feet away from where I was, like, lamenting my demise. Both of them offered some sage advice and said, hey, you know, you've got a lot of time until the cutoff at this checkpoint. Why don't you just chill out and relax? And I started to get cold, so I had to change clothes, and I had to put dry clothes on, and they piled a couple of blankets on me and put a jacket on me. And for all intents and purposes, I looked just like everyone else who was dropping out at that point.
Right.
And I had run by Kira Henninger, 2-time winner of Angeles Crest, and a very close friend of mine who was on your show a while back on Race Directors, Ethan.
Yep.
I had seen Kira earlier in the day, and she was having a knee problem that I had a very similar issue at Western States this year. And I basically told her, you're not allowed to drop out for that. This is how you manage it. So I didn't tell her to man up, but I basically told her to man up. And so here I am sitting in my chair, kind of throwing a little pity party for myself, and Kira comes into mile 60, and she looks over at me and she goes, oh no, you are not fucking dropping. Get the fuck out of the chair. And I had drank a whole bunch of electrolytes laced in some shitty hot chocolate, and after sitting in the chair for yeah, it was really bad. So after about 45 minutes at that mile 60 checkpoint and drinking a bunch of electrolytes, the fluid magically cleared my lungs and I could take a deep breath again. So my pacer and I, we elected to walk about a mile out of the aid station, and we were with a buddy of mine, Jonathan Gunderson, from the San Francisco Bay Area. And Jonathan and I and his pacer and my pacer, we all walked for a while. And then I decided I was going to try and run up this little grade before it started to plunge into the canyon below Newcomb.
Mm-hmm.
And when I could run the grade and take a deep breath and not cough, it gave me the confidence that, okay, you know, this problem is at least remedied for now, so I'll get to Chantry and I'll reassess. And Chad and I ran the hell out of that section. We hiked really well up to Newcomb at mile 68. I love the section from 68 to 75. It's got a lot of single-track, technical, winding, downhill running. And then you base out in a canyon, you do the little climb up to Chantry Flats, and I was great until you saw me at Chantry Flats with Mr. Colin Cooley,
Yeah.
who, when Colin and I were in the canyon, I stopped and walked with him for the last mile up to Chantry, and hilariously, he told me about his puking story, which had just happened. And I was like thinking to myself, well, thank God I don't feel like throwing up. And then we hiked out of the canyon, and I sat down at Chantry and did my best Linda Blair impression, puking up everything that I ate.
Regardless, there's stories of pain and stories of misery that come out of these races, and AC is no exception. I mean, I witnessed it at every aid station. Someone going through something that made them look like death. I mean, I can't tell you how many, Michael Shimon, Dave Daly, like people who would come into aid stations looking like death had just wrapped themselves around that person, that individual, but then somehow, some way, they would get themselves up out of that chair and then continue moving. So when I saw you at Chantry Flats, Jimmy, I'm going, I've seen Jimmy like this all day. Like, he's come in, maybe he's yacked, or maybe he's just been really uncomfortable, or some sort of pain or some sort of terrible moment for him, but he still stood up and walked out. I'm like, there's no way he's not going to do that here. Sure enough, how long did you end up staying at Chantry Flats before you continued on?
I think I was at Chantry probably like 20, 25 minutes, and the interesting thing was I had actually declared to my crew that I wasn't going to continue at Chantry because I had been suffering since mile 18. Like, that was the largest number of hours that I'd ever been sort of dealing with all of the problems, and I couldn't wrap my mind around another 8 or 10 hours of being in like a bad space. And I said to them, like, I don't think I'm going to continue. And maybe moments later, Andy Kumeda, who I knew all of the problems that he was dealing with because we had been running together, and I asked him, you know, what's going on with you? And he told me. He didn't complain. I had to sort of pry it out of him. Andy walks through the aid station, and it was a little bit like the movie The Last Samurai, where like the guys go into battle and they know they're going to get killed.
That's racist, Jimmy. That's racist.
Andy walks through the movie of my life, and he's just like stoic and freaking, he's like a Terminator. And I see him walk from one side of the Chantry aid station to the other, knowing that he's continuing on the course, and he can't even really run downhill anymore. And there's a crap ton of downhill in the last 25.
Oh yeah.
And so in that very moment, I thought to myself, you know, I'm not just letting myself down if I drop here. I'm letting my crew down. I'm letting Andy down. And it was really funny because I had made up in my mind that I wasn't continuing. And then I saw Andy go by, and I looked at my crew, and I went, ah, fuck it. We're here. Let's go.
I love it. And that's the same story that your wife, Kate, relayed to us at the finish line when she saw you at Chantry, was that you literally said, we're already here. Let's go. And you got up out of the chair, knowing that you still had 25 miles left, and it was going to take a long time, and it was going to hurt like a fuck. Hurt like a fuck? What, is that even a thing?
Hurts generally don't. I mean, fucks generally don't hurt. But
yeah, I'm with Billy on that one. Totally with Billy on that one. Regardless, you pushed through, and you finished the 4th 100 in the last 8 weeks. Incredible. Incredible, Jimmy. Congratulations, man.
It gives me grave concerns about doing another one in 11.5 days. But
hey,
can't
Jimmy?
be any worse. Can't be any worse.
Hey, Jimmy, I'm curious to know how important that played into your decision to continue on, because you have 3 on your belt. You're doing this thing that you put out there. You have goals of completing all 6. I mean, how importantly did that factor into your mind?
You know, I would like to say that it affected my decision making, but in the space of sitting in that chair for 45 minutes at Shortcut, I didn't care about the 6. I had even justified to myself, I can drop out of AC and I'm still in the Grand Slam. And so thinking about whether or not to continue at AC based on the 6 wasn't motivating me at all. But seeing my friend Kira battle through and sort of taunt me into continuing, you know, having my friends there, like, providing a lot of really awesome support. Like, nobody was very drill sergeant-esque with me other than that one Kira moment. And then seeing Andy, you know, walk through the aid station, I find that in these particular moments I'm not very self-motivated, but I'm inspired by the people around me. And those moments were that exact, experience was like I couldn't get out of my own way, but then being in the community of all these other people, it was like I wanted to inspire them the way they inspire me, and particular assists in that case to Kira Henninger and Andy Kameda.
It's incredible to see you guys push through some serious shit. Like Guillaume pushing through busted quads and seeing you hobble to that finish line still in 9th place is incredible. And I have to point out that your hat, Guillaume, is amazing. Your whole crew had these King of the Mountain hats.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, the race was also special because my whole family came from France to witness that. So, I mean, I had made some special shirt with written French team, and everybody was wearing those hats. So it's Le Tour de France, which is the bicycle race, and this is supposed to be for the King of the Mountain. So.
For those of you who might be familiar with cycling, the different hats, whether it's yellow or green or red polka dots, they all have different meanings, and that is the King of the Mountain hat, which I love. And your whole family was wearing it, all from France.
Yeah.
They were all in town.
And they were very excited. I mean, each time I was going through an station, there was a allez, allez, allez. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, they all did an amazing job. My crew was fantastic. And I mean, I heard a lot of good things from other people saying that, yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Yeah. That is the best.
I think that's been the single best moment on the show thus far.
You understand what I mean.
That shit, he just threw down. Like, there's nothing we can do to top that.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, we haven't even gotten to Billy's story yet. I'm sorry, Billy, the show's over, man. Sorry, dude.
No, that's fine, man. Guillaume dropped the mic with that one.
I have to say that, Guillaume, you are welcome back on the show just to amp up the energy at any point. I mean, if your family could do that every week, that would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Just fly him in. Oh my God, I don't even know where to go from there. That is hilarious. The chat room is about to explode because there is a bit of a delay on our end, so we just saw it, and the chat room is about to see it in a second. So it's hysterical. So we have two incredible stories. Guillaume pushing his ass off in under the top 10 and getting in 9th through some serious pain. Jimmy Dean pushing through what I can't even imagine as pain and suffering and managing to get it done. In an what was your time, Jimmy? I know that it was damn good.
24:51, which was my first ever second sunrise buckle at AC, because AC's got 3 buckles. They've got the sub 24, they've got the 33-hour finisher's buckle, and then if you finish in more than 24 hours, but you beat the sunrise up the second time, you get the second sunrise buckle.
Which is awesome. I love that they have that, and sure enough, before that sunrise is at 6:08 a.m., the finishers that come through get this really, really spectacular buckle.
Quick note, Ethan.
Yeah.
The second sunrise buckle, the race used to happen at the end of September, so the second sunrise.
What is going on in your house?
AC 100 finisher George Gleason is over here drinking beer, and we
no
were
big
going to
deal.
surprise you guys with like another AC finisher, and Kate's an AC finisher, but like after what Guillaume just did, we're like closing up shop over here.
Yeah, guys, we're not doing that right now. No, go back. Sorry, guys.
So to go back to the buckle thing, the AC Second Sunrise buckle is the least number of buckles that they award at AC. They might have like 12 to 15 silver sub 24s. They might hand out like 60 or 70 of the 33-hour buckles, but they only give out 1 to 5 or so of the Second Sunrise buckles, and the time for the Second Sunrise changes based on the date of the race.
Right.
So when AC was happening at the end of September, you had till like 25 hours and 45 minutes, 26 hours, and now that they moved it into the middle of the summer, like the year Josh Spector did it, it was only like 24 hours and 40 minutes or 55 minutes, something like that. So this year, I was actually running my ass off at the end of the race, thinking I only got a couple minutes to get in under second sunrise, and I dropped my pacer, Cameron, in the last 1.5 miles because I was sprinting my guts out to get that buckle. And the next thing I knew, I made it by like 16 minutes or something like that. But I'm really stoked on this buckle because it's the most imperfect buckle that they make. Both the sub 24 and the 33-hour finishers buckles are an iron buckle cast, and the second sunrise is a silicone buckle cast. So if you examine the three buckles, it's like totally a hacksawed, like uneven. The letters are all jacked. It's a really cool buckle in its imperfection, and it's a perfect representation of the race that I had this weekend.
That's an amazing description too, and I think that just adds to the specialness of that particular buckle. Really great. Congratulations, Jimmy. That's really amazing. Now, I want to move on to the story that I am closest to because I was a part of it and kind of witnessed it all day, and that is Mr. Billy Yang and running his first 100. Of all 100s to make your first, Billy, why did you choose AC, which we now have learned, thanks to Guillaume and Jimmy, is one of the toughest and is full of carnage, is full of suffering and pain, and just a long day in the pain cave. Why did you choose AC as your first?
I think first and foremost, it's my hometown race. I mean, this is the probably the only 100-miler in the greater Los Angeles area. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I mean, and I'm kind of not really counting like 24-hour time races, you know, around a farm or something. But and this race is a big deal. I've been around it either as a crew or pacer for the past few years. I've seen Jimmy there plenty of times. I've always joked that I always know when Jimmy's going to have a great race when he comes into Chileo, which is like the first major aid station where you can pick up like a pacer, and that's usually where most people coming in during that day will go for the first time. And every time Jimmy's like killed that race, he's always come into that aid station looking like absolute shit. Unfortunately, I wasn't there to witness it this year, but yeah, I mean, it's God, just being around it, and I knew a 100-miler was inevitable. I've always I tried towing the line a couple of other times, and just because of injury or some other circumstance, I wasn't able to go. So AC it was, and my friends were doing it. A whole slew of people. I will say like a new breed of ultra runners, younger ultra runners, were taking part this year. Just given out quickly, it sold out. And
Guillaume, for example, that was your first AC too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Guillaume, there's Andy Pearsons, there's the Elons, there's the all these other guys that we run with on a regular basis who are our peers. But yeah, this race was special to me in that regard, and I trained my butt off for as much as I could. I was somewhat limited by a knee injury. I trained as much as I could on the course, and I had that advantage. So on weekends, you, me, Colin, Dave, Sally, Josh, whomever, we would go out on a regular basis and train on various sections of the course, and that was a huge advantage.
Going into this race, how were you feeling? Like the day before race morning. What the fuck is with my sentences? I'm still caught off guard the fact that Guillaume's family was dancing behind him with flags. I can't get over that.
They can come back if you want. They can come back.
I'm waiting for it. Anytime, Guillaume, all you have to do is just give them the secret code, and we'll click over to you.
Yeah, they're watching on the TV, so...
Oh, that's awesome.
I cannot control.
It'll happen, and I'm going to click over as soon as it does. So like the day before the race, Billy, how were you feeling? And then race morning, first time in Wrightwood, towing the line with your bottles in hand, and you have the Acorn climb ahead of you, like you know that the long day is ahead of you. How were you feeling at that moment?
I mean, you were around me all day, the day prior, and you, hopefully I exuded some kind of like relative calmness.
More like craziness, but yeah, crazy? Sure. No.
I mean, I really was like trying to stay within myself and just not get caught up in the hype. It was actually a really nice day. We, as soon as we got to the village center, it was a venerable who's who of SoCal ultra running. They were all there, and we were all hanging out. A bunch of us grabbed lunch together. Hi, Pauline. Guillaume, are you at Christophe's house? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, there's a party for the race.
Oh.
I mean, my family is leaving tomorrow, so we are kind of doing a party.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Billy. That's awesome.
No, I love it. I absolutely love it.
So, being your first 100, obviously, I'm sure it's pretty intimidating. You haven't run that distance before. You haven't run past 62 miles because you've done a number of 100Ks, but at that point, you haven't gone past that point, so you don't really know what it feels like, except it's going to hurt. For this race, kind of take us through this. Like, we saw you at the first aid station, and actually, I'm going to have to say this. Every aid station, you were smiling. You came through smiling, and it was all business. You knew exactly what you needed, whether it was 2 bottles or the pack with bottles or Tailwind or real food, like cookies or chips or potatoes or soup. You knew what you needed, and it was all business, but you were having so much fun. Kind of take us through the race for you, being out there in between aid stations and stuff like that, and running with your friends and with Jimmy, and I don't know if you ran with Guillaume, because Guillaume kind of...
Not a chance in hell.
Yeah, just kind of disappeared.
So I was saying, I mean, the day before was great. It was very mellow, but the night of the race, it all hit me, like the butterflies, the nerves, and I didn't sleep a wink. I laid in bed, tossing and turning. Basically had my eyes closed until 3 a.m. when the alarm clock went off, and kind of went through the motions. So I was a little bit worried about that, because when I'm sleep deprived like that, I'm like I turn into a grumpy piece of shit. But I mean, thankfully, the week leading up to the race, I slept as much as I could, try to rest up, kind of anticipating something like that. And the morning of, it was just kind of like the first day, but on steroids. It was, surrounded by all my friends, but the hype and the buzz and the adrenaline was palpable. And I was trying to stay relaxed, chat with people, and take pictures and whatnot. But I mean, it was right there in red numbers, like counting down to when the race was about to start. When it did, God, I just tried to find this gear that was like a last all day type of gear. And I know about, I'm gonna give credit to Jimmy, because Jimmy kind of broke the race course down, and I talked about this the day before with Colin too, as we were driving into Wrightwood, breaking it down into like 8 significant climbs, making it more digestible in those morsels. And I know people talk about like running aid station to aid station, and certainly I've thought that way at various points too, but kind of breaking the course down into 8 climbs somewhat made it a little more palatable. Anyway, so when we hit the first climb at Acorn, you want to just kind of stay at a comfortable pace for you, and that means not getting caught up in what other people are doing. I know Guillaume was there to race and race well, and he did. But for instance, like I saw as I was hiking up, a couple of switchbacks up, my friends Colin, Dave, and Ian Torrance, they were hiking together, and they yelled something down at me, and we kind of bantered a little bit, and I was like, well, I should go up there and hike up with them. They're not that far away. But then I kind of like held myself back. I was like, okay, you're going at your pace right now. Stay within that pace. And sure enough, I got up to the top of the climb, within a couple of minutes of like my training runs. Same thing with Baden Powell. I was like, you know what? You're going to get up there when you get up there. Go at your pace. And, a couple of people passed me, but for the most part, I was worried about my, not having strength in my legs for the latter part of the race. So I did it, I did the climb maybe like 10 minutes slower than I normally would. And it worked out great in the latter mile. So, and yeah, God, coming through, especially like the first couple of aid stations, first person I always heard was Sally.
Can't miss her.
Yeah, you can't not hear Sally, but I would hear her, and then all of a sudden a bunch of other people would start yelling my name, and I got legitimately like choked up. I was like, here here I was in this race, this 100-mile race that's been scaring the shit out of me for the greater part of the past year. And, you know, a bunch of my friends were there, and more importantly, 3 friends in particular who were there specifically for me to have the race of my life. And, like, all of that just got to me, and I was like, holy shit. And, you know, I pulled myself together before I came to the aid station, but all of that contributed to me having a great attitude and just me kind of staying in the moment.
Yeah, I want to point out, and this goes for both Guillaume and Jimmy, being from Southern California, when you pick a crew or you pick pacers, you usually pick from friends or people that you're familiar with, or people that you've run with before that go your pace or can push you, or you just know have the experience and drive to help push you, or are really expert individuals at crewing, whether that means buckling down and making sure that you get up and out of that aid station, or keeping you on time, or getting the nutrition in. So with this particular race, it seemed that all of Southern California ultra runners were either running it or already allocated to runners. So picking crew and pacers, it's difficult because a lot of people are either already crewing or pacing, or they're running it. So Billy was able to get both Sally McRae and Josh Spector. Josh has just finished Badwater 135 like a badass 2 weeks ago. Guy is just unbelievable. So he is in here to crew and pace. Sally, who just finished Western States in 10th place, top 10 female, is here to pace and to crew. And then he manages to pull me along for the ride, a little ginger who's lucky to be able to keep up with the man, and is there to film and try to get as much footage as possible. So I have to say that Billy had the best crew out there, unless of course Jimmy wants to.
I think that much is fair.
But you know, our crew isn't dancing behind Guillaume. Hint.
Sally? No. Josh? No.
And Jimmy, your crew is part family for you, so you also lucked out by having a pretty impressive and amazing wife/crew. Yeah, and you're still muted. I think he muted himself. You have to unmute yourself, Jimmy.
Yeah, thanks.
There you go.
And then we've got George here, AC 100 finisher, second finish.
White Lightning.
Woo woo!
And between George and Billy Yang and myself, we have like half of the second sunrise buckle finishers. It's like a second sunrise party.
So there it is. There is the second sunrise belt buckle.
All its imperfections. Yeah.
All of its imperfections. Beautiful, beautiful piece of hardware. And Guillaume, do you have your buckle?
Yeah, I do.
Here's Jimmy's second sunrise buckle. Guillaume actually is pulling it off of himself right now. This is the sub 24-hour belt buckle.
Yeah, this is one.
You see it says Rejoice, and it's got the mountain range there behind it. Here's 2 buckles. So this is Jimmy's got all 3.
Jimmy's going off.
It's like Monopoly money for Jimmy. It's really, the AC buckles are like Monopoly money for him.
He probably wears all 3 at the same time. So Billy, back to your story. Every time we saw you come through aid stations, you were smiling, you were dialed. I have to say, as an outsider, I was watching you run, and it was clear that you were running your own race. Yeah. And this is something that I told you while I was running with you, and this is something that I'm actually going to use desperately during the Squamish 50-50 in 12 days or 13 days or whatever. And that is that you didn't get caught up in other people's races. You were just doing your own thing. While you might have been running with people and conversing and having fun and focusing and all that good stuff, you still were dialed in your own race, and you never got caught up. You didn't rush through aid stations. You took your time. You managed to get through really quick in almost all cases. I don't think there was any time you really dilly-dallied, except for maybe when you changed your shoes. But, of course, it's going to take a little bit longer for you to slip on new shoes.
Yeah.
Do you think that played a significant role in your result? And we'll get to your results in a second, because I think that's one of the best stories from the race itself. But do you think just kind of like sticking to your own plan was helpful, or was there something else?
Yeah, and I think there was also the fear of like the unknown, the fear of like how my body's going to feel 75, 85, 90 miles into a race, a distance I've never tackled before.
Mm-hmm.
So you wanted to really try to harness some of that energy that's like screaming to get out. And yeah, it was that in combination of like having a good stomach all day. And I don't know what exactly I can attribute that to, because people like Jimmy, Colin, Ian Torrance, all these legendary people that I look up to, and when I say legendary, I mean old. No, I mean all these people that I look up to who were having these really horrendous like stomach issues, and you know, unfortunately someone like our friend Dave had to drop after giving it a fighting go. But I just had no problems getting things down. I mean, I was drinking Tailwind all day, but I supplemented that with a lot of real food and Ensure at times, some ginger beer, and Coke. So it never really had a problem in that regard, and that helped tremendously. Because I remember I would come through, especially the latter 8 stations, and Ethan, you saw me during my one kind of low point during the race when we were going up Newcomb Saddle.
Yeah.
And I'm just like so bonking, sort of just like tired, didn't really have energy and pep, and then we get up there and I pour down like chicken noodle soup and a couple of chips and a couple of cups of Coke, and then next thing you know, we're like flying down that that mountain together, and it's huge. It's absolutely huge. Yeah.
So I had the pleasure of pacing Billy. I was very, very fortunate to do it. It's my first time ever pacing in an ultra event like this. So in this particular race, you get to pick up your first pacer at Chileo, which is Jimmy, 52. Chileo is mile 52.
52.8. 52.8 or 53.
So this is where the racers get to pick up their first pacer. In Billy's case, he picked up Josh Spector. Coming off of Badwater 135, Josh is just limited to how many miles he can run. He's still, recovering and wanting to take that time. So he was going to pace the 7.5 miles or so to an aid station called Shortcut, where you run up to the saddle, where the road crosses through this little valley, and then you drop down to the other side. So that's where I pick up Billy. And we start running down a really long descent. Guillaume described the descent earlier. It's about 6.5 miles or so, 6 miles, down a fire road, groomed fire road. It's really smooth, but it's still pretty hard. And you go down into a valley, and then you have a real steep climb back out. The climb back out is the first time I saw Billy all day suffering. And I'm going to put quotes around suffering, because even though you were probably in a pretty dark place, Billy, you weren't. I've seen you much worse, and you weren't there. You might have just been like, I just can't. And actually, Jimmy, Billy had the same sort of breathing issue that you had. Coming up and out of that valley at the bottom of Shortcut, Billy couldn't breathe. He'd have to take multiple rests to catch his breath and actually try to breathe through his lungs. And I don't know if it was the poodle dog bush, perhaps. Have you ever had a problem with that, Jimmy?
People have speculated that could be one of the influencing factors, but when I took electrolytes, it corrected itself. So who knows? I mean, you're sitting at Shortcut, there isn't a lot of poodle dog right next to you, but climbing up there's quite a bit. So it could definitely be a problem.
What about you, Guillaume? Have you ever had an issue with the poodle dog bush? It's like poison oak, airborne, and can be very toxic.
No, I mean, I'm not very sensitive to that. I'm very lucky with that. I didn't have any problem. I know Dom had some problem, and actually this year he had a mask just in case.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, myself, I didn't have any problem.
Okay.
Dom had a mask?
Yeah, he had a mask in case at 3 points. Because last year, that's a section, 3 points to Chilao was a section where, I mean, everything started to go bad.
It's like especially after 3 points, and Jimmy pointed this out to me, that's when Jimmy and I got to spend a little time together. And he was like, you see that? You see that? Don't touch any of that. Like, don't get near that. And there was that section, like, right before you hit the paved road, too. And even during that section where it's everywhere. It's everywhere around you, and winds were kind of whipping around. And coincidence or not, that's when I started having breathing problems. And when I picked up Josh at mile 52, I was super stoked to get him and chat and whatnot. But I had a hard time kind of like maintaining a conversation because I was over the breathing was becoming labored. So, and same thing with you, Ethan. When we were going up that long-ass climb up to Newcomb, it was just, I know you were trying to get me to run sections, but after I did, like, it would take me a while for my breathing to become regulated. So, yeah, it definitely played a part for me.
It was obvious that you were suffering, and my job is to obviously push you to a certain limit before, I don't want you to cross over that edge to where you can't recover from whatever I push you through. So my job is just to kind of gauge what you're able to do, and it was obvious that you were suffering breathing-wise. However, kind of what I want to get to in your particular story is you gave us, as crew, you gave us all splits. Splits being times between aid stations that were your goals to finish in under 24 hours. So you could get that sub 24-hour belt buckle.
It was a pie-in-the-sky goal that I wanted you guys to have just in case, but yeah.
Absolutely. You told us before the race your goal was to finish. That was it. Your secondary goal, if we could do it, was to do sub 24.
Yeah.
I knew when you came into Shortcut Saddle, you were about 40 to 45 minutes off of that goal. I told you 25. I don't know why I lied to you, but
you lying sack of shit, really?
I did.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No,
but I did it for a particular reason. I didn't want to give you this huge number that just didn't sound attainable, so I cut it in half. However, we made up that split between Shortcut to Chantry.
Yeah.
Your goal was to finish that in 4 hours. It's a 15-mile split. We did it in 3 hours and 27 minutes. So we shaved 33 minutes off of what you were already behind on that 24-hour goal. So going into Chantry, you were about to pick up Sally McRae, who not only knows 100-milers, who knows fast, speed, and long distance. She just knows it, and she knows how to push people. She knew exactly what she needed to do. She knew the gap. She knew the splits that she needed to get you to at the top of Winter Creek, down to Idle Hour, Sam Merrill, and Millard. She knew what she had to do. Can you describe those miles with her leading up to this finish line?
Without crying, no. First of all, Ethan, that was a joint effort on both our parts from Shortcut to Chantry, and you definitely helped me get moving. Knew when to talk to me, knew when to back off a bit, and run certain sections. So don't undersell that on your end, by the way.
I never will. I'll never undersell the fact that I am the reason you finished.
No, it was, and you may not have as much experience as Josh or Sally when it comes to ultras, but you definitely brought this energy that was sorely needed for that section, for sure. And your enthusiasm, I wish I could have matched it. Remember when we saw that incredible sunset as we're going up Newcomb, and I was just like in all of that, and you're taking video and you're taking pictures, and I was just trying to get to that point, or try to talk myself out of that funk. For that.
I also want to point out that it started raining during our section too. This is unheard of. And Jimmy and Guillaume, chime in if you want to talk about the weather, because you both have been to AC and experienced what it really is, which is hot and miserable. Yeah. On Saturday, it was not that at all. I know it was humid, and it was unworldly humid all day, but it was cloudy and not sunny and not super hot, and it rained. And that started happening just before you got to Chantry, Billy. But yeah, what was it like running with Sally? How hard did she push you? And how are those final miles coming out of Millard?
Well, the weather was huge, though. I think you and I got some drizzle as we were descending Newcomb, and I love that. I loved being able to run in that, and I was actually anticipating running with Sally because I know how much she loves running in the rain and why it's special to her. When we got to Chantry, of course, in the dark, you went up this gradual paved road, and I turn on my headlamps because I know if Sally or someone there is waiting for us, they can anticipate us coming, and we're 100 yards away, and of course I hear Sally's voice going, "Who's that?" And he's like, "Is that Ethan? Is that Billy?" And we're like, yes, Sally, it's us. And she's like, oh my God! And she like scrambles up. I'm guessing to like get things ready. And we get up there, and I think I'm guesstimating, but it was somewhere between 10:20 and 10:30 when we got in there. And I think
10:18. It was exactly 10:18.
Okay. And I know a conventional rule is that for a sub 24-hour buckle, Jimmy, you know about this because you've come in at various points and still crushed sub 24s. Conventional wisdom is that under 10 p.m. is what you need to do to have a realistic shot at a sub 24-hour finish, right?
Yeah, 10 p. They say that you want to be out of Chantry by 10 p.m. because the person between 23:30 and 23:59 typically takes around 7 hours.
Yeah. So, leaving Chantry. When we got to Chantry, it was all business. You guys were great in helping me get my stuff together. You and I talked about what we needed, or what I needed for the last 25. I got in some more chicken noodle soup and some Coke, and I forget how long it took, but we didn't linger there at all. And then Sally and I were on the road.
Under 4 minutes.
And under 4 minutes, really?
Yeah, you were real quick.
Holy crap!
Didn't feel like it, but you got the food in, and we got you out of there quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's a gradual uphill before you are met to a single track road that will take you to the beast of a climb that is the Winter Creek Road, or Winter Creek Trail. And Sally and I kind of got caught up as we were kind of gradually hiking up to that trail. But once we hit that trail, I knew we had to move. She knew we had to move, and we started running at that point. And it felt at that point like it certainly didn't feel like I had 75 miles underneath me. We caught up to a runner and his pacer fairly quickly, and passed them. Got to the bottom of Winter Creek, which is Jimmy, you know the stats for Winter Creek. What is that? And it falls at mile 78. It is a long, gradual, I would say 20-25% grade at times, super steep trail that on fresh legs is a bitch to go up, right?
It's about 2 miles on that stretch that gains about 2,100 feet. It's over 1,000 feet a mile for 2 miles.
No big deal at mile 78. Yeah. No big deal.
Yeah. It's one of the cruelest. Every time I've gone up that during training runs, even before I signed up for AC, I was like, why the fuck are they doing this to these people? These poor people, at mile 78, mile 80, you're putting this trail, it's horrible. And there's been a lot of attrition over the years. There's a bench at the top of this climb that many people have napped on. Our friend Don Freeman, I know there's an infamous story of him passing out on his face to sleep on the side of a trail. Jimmy, you probably passed out on that bench before, right? At the
First
top of
AC finish, yeah. I sped ahead of my pacer because I knew it was there and she didn't, so I went and laid down on the bench and fell asleep before she got there.
I bet Guillaume just ran by.
Guillaume, how's that climb for you?
Actually, with Christophe, so my second pacer, we did an amazing job on the climb. I made 15 minutes on Dom on that, and I caught Dom at the bench, and it was nice. We climbed, but not king on the down. I think we did the climb. From so the whole Winter Creek, then the switchback up to the Fire Road in 58 minutes. So it was not bad.
Yeah, we Sally will have to correct me on this, but we moved pretty well, and she actually got me to run sections of that climb, which was amazing. And she was like, you know what, it's seconds in the bank. It's seconds in the bank. If you could just run 10 steps, if you could just run this and that, and there's no way. Hey, Christophe, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, so those are my two pacers.
I love it.
This is David. He paced me from Chilao to Chantry, and then Christophe.
Yeah, Christophe's the nicest guy. He just finished Ironman. He just finished his first Ironman, right?
Yeah, he finished his Ironman in Nice in France. Yeah.
So yeah, like Christoph, Sally was my last, was my main person for the last 25, and she kept me moving. That was key, and I thought up to that time, maybe just a little over an hour, and kept moving along, didn't really dilly-dally, and then once we hit idle hour, or the long descent down into idle hour, which was a long fire road, Sally was less focused on me and more focused on like the view. At that point you get this wide, expansive view of the LA basin proper, and she was like marveling at that. She was playing music from her iPhone at times, M83 I think for the most part, and for those couple of miles, like it was just about like going on a mountain run with my friend Sally in the middle of the night. It was still painful. I mean, the pain definitely reminded me where I was. My knees and my quads at that point were taking a brutal beating, and every step hurt. But it was still a lot of just quality time with my friend.
Now,
and
while you're up there on the side of the mountain and you're looking down, and Dom Grossman has talked about this, where you're running on a trail, you're at mile 80, 85 at this point, and you're looking down on the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
No one down there has a clue what's going on in the mountains behind them. And, LA is huge, and these people are living their lives, doing their nightly routines on a Saturday night, and you're up in the mountains grinding through some of the most difficult terrain at mile 85 plus, hoping to get down into that town to get that buckle. So while you're running this, Josh and I are at the finish line watching your splits. We're basically the only thing that we can really get is texts from Sally saying, Billy is running his ass off, and you know what? I'm going to pull these texts up because they're amazing. We're just getting texts from Sally. We're getting updates from the website, basically following you through these aid stations, getting your splits from there. All right, here, hold on. She sent us pictures and everything. Sally says, "So damn strong. Tweet that." So this is from her at 11:50 p.m. on Saturday night. And I said, "Yes, push him, sub 24." And she said, "Dude has not stopped running." She sends a picture, and it's of you running. I mean, I can just show it to you. There's Billy climbing up a climb there. And she says, "He's a beast, moving amazingly. And a strap of leather, Billy's going to need something to attach that buckle to." So yeah, she's giving us updates, and we're watching online, seeing that you come into Millard at, I believe it is 4:08 a.m. So you're grinding through the middle of the night. You get up to San Merrill, you move on to Millard, which is the last aid station. 4:08 a.m. The 24-hour cutoff is 5 a.m. So Sally and you start pushing. I've only heard it from her. I haven't really heard it from you, but she's mentioned to me that you were running your ass off, and she was pushing you hard, and you were like running faster than she could ever imagine pushing you. What was it like, Billy? How fast were you moving, and do you remember it?
I was telling somebody earlier today, like, it felt to me like we were running like 6 to 7 minute mile effort, but I'm sure it was more like 8, 9, or 10. I mean, just to add to the surrealness, the last two people we passed, one of them was Jorge Pacheco, Jorge Pacheco, who has won this race outright several times. I mean, the guy is just a legend. He's probably a nicer guy than a runner, just to add to the and Jimmy and Guillaume, I'm sure you guys would echo that sentiment. Jorge is just a class above everyone else, just as a human being. And I remember Sally and I were like covertly trying to pass these two headlamps ahead of us at the just before we were descending into Millard. And when I saw him, I was kind of heartbroken for a second, but we had work to do. And the last 12 miles of the race is probably the hardest 12 miles I've ever run in any race.
Yeah, you can take your time, man. Drink the beer. It's 11 or 12 miles downhill from San Merrill. Extremely technical. It's not just runnable single track. It's technical single track. It is downhill, but man, when it pops up at mile 88, 89, it's not easy. Your quads are blown by this point, as Guillaume can attest. Your legs don't want to work. Your knees are destroyed. Your ankles are just fried.
Yeah.
But yet you're still pushing. You have 52. So you're at Millard. You have at 4:08 a.m.
Yeah.
You have 52 minutes to go sub 24. You're fully aware of it. Sally is aware of it.
And you still get this uphill, which, God, like that felt like Winter Creek at that point. It was cruel and it's seemingly unending. At that point, I was done. We were pushing for so hard for so long, like I was on fumes. I mean, to my credit, this race just happened like a day and a half ago, so it's still very raw to me. So I'm sorry for getting caught up in all this.
No, that's nice. That's nice, actually.
She pushed me so hard, and I really did not care. I didn't care about the buckle anymore. I cared more about letting her down, and that's she gave so much, her heart, her soul, everything, the entire 6.5 hours or whatever it ended up being that we were out there. I knew this would happen. Sally, I told you this would happen. God damn it. But she coaxed every last ounce of whatever effort I may have had. She got it out of me, and I told myself in my head, however this plays out, I'm fine with the outcome. I wanted that sub 24. Don't get me wrong. I'm as competitive, or even more so than the next person, but goddamn, I had nothing. When we were rolling through El Prieto, which is the last couple of miles of stretch, the only thing keeping me moving was her, and I know Sally brings up the taking the wrong turn a couple times, and that may have cost us no. I mean, the day played out exactly the way it was supposed to play out. We crossed the line 20 seconds after the 24-hour mark, so I missed getting that buckle. And when I crossed the finish line, I collapsed, absolutely collapsed. I was just spent. I had one little sprint left at the finish. I didn't see a clock, but at that point I was just happy to be done. And I heard, somebody told me there was a little mix-up about whether I did it or not. Ultimately, obviously I didn't, but I didn't really care. I left it all out there, and she and you guys played a key part in that, and so I was extremely satisfied by the outcome.
So Billy ran the last 4.5, 5 miles, the fourth fastest split of the race. What would normally take an estimated an average of 55 minutes to an hour and 10 minutes for most people in the race took Billy 48 minutes. So he managed to get past Millard and bridge that gap and get to the finish line. On the clock, on any regular clock, he crossed that finish line at 4:59 and 47 seconds. I have proof of it. I have video of it. However, the race clock and the word go at the beginning was started 33 seconds before 5 a.m.
Yeah.
That is technically exactly how it went down, is that the race clock was started at a very specific time.
Yeah.
So Billy, you chased that time and you put your heart into it and you worked your ass off for it. And while you might have missed that buckle by 20 seconds, you have one of the most inspiring stories from this particular race. There is no other performance that is as gutsy and as dialed as yours was. I get emotional thinking about it because just getting wrapped up in it, being there and wanting it for you so bad, and everyone at that finish line is just wanting it and cheering and aghast to hear the news, and it was tough to watch. But at the same point, this is I think what is most crucial at this moment, and I have video of this as well. While all of us are scurrying, demanding that you got it, you are sitting there and you go, you know what? I don't even care. I don't even care. And you look at Sal and you go, we just did it. We did it. It doesn't matter about the buckle. We did it. And I think that's the message.
Well, it's
most inspiring from this.
It's really arbitrary. I mean, you get a different color buckle. Yeah, you can say you went sub 24 at this race. You're talking to a guy who set out to finish this race. That was goal one. That was to finish this race. Anything above and beyond that was just gravy. And for me to even get to that point, like I said time and time again, that wouldn't even be an option entertaining if it wasn't for you guys. It really does, and Jimmy and Guillaume, they can attest to this. It's all about the team. It's all about the crew. It's about these people who are so selfless and giving them their entire selves to you to just see you achieve this thing, whether it's a finish, whether it's a time, whatever it is. And we wholeheartedly did that all day. And the reason I had the legs to run as hard as I could in the last 25 was because I was properly fueled, and because I was, like everything leading up to it set me up for that. So it didn't work out in terms of, a number next to my name, but, I was still 15th place. That wouldn't have changed. I'm going to wear this buckle proudly.
Show us the buckle again. Show us that buckle again, man. You earned that shit.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done, Billy Yang.
I have, and so, in that regard, I have no disappointment whatsoever. This race was a resounding success in my mind.
Yep. Couldn't agree with you more. And this story, for those of you who are watching live, is 100% for you. Even while I was pacing Billy, I'm like, I'm using every ounce and every bit of your race today as inspiration for my race that's coming up, and I hope you guys do the same. It doesn't matter what distance you're running. It doesn't matter if it's a 5K, a 10K, or marathon, your first marathon, your first ultra, doesn't matter. Look at Billy's story. While it might be a 100-mile distance, he never gave up. And while you can look back and go, oh, if it wasn't for that one moment or whatever, he doesn't care. And what really matters is that he absolutely completed his goal, put everything he had into it, and he has the buckle to prove it. Now comes the big question. This is for all of you guys. Are you running it again next year? And Guillaume, we'll start with you.
Yes, I'm running it next year.
So I want to point out that registration opens for this race the next day. It opened today, and it opens at noon. And this race sold out in 15 minutes. Jimmy, you probably know better than anybody. Is that normal for this race?
Over the last few years, the time has exponentially gotten shorter and shorter. Last year, they published that they were going to open the race on Tuesday, but he secretly opened it like 2 days before, and then ended up selling out in like 2 days. So I think there were a lot of people that were planning to register for it last year who were shut out, and there's no waiting list and there's no apologies. So when the thing went live this year, you had people who wanted to do it again, and you had people who got shut out last year. So I think that led to the FOMO, the sign-up FOMO. everybody's fear of missing out, and next year it's going to sell out in 2 minutes. But I had told people yesterday that I had no intention nor desire to run the race in 2015. I've got 2 things that are a lot bigger on my mind than running Angeles Crest for a 7th time, and I feel really satisfied with my race this year, and satisfied with not even considering signing up. And people didn't believe me because I've done it 4 years in a row. But I'm going to go out and have fun watching Guillaume kick the course's ass and see what he can do.
Hopefully.
Yeah, Guillaume, are you ready for revenge?
Yeah. I mean, the good thing that Jimmy yesterday told me is that he had his best AC, I guess, at the 4th time. Oh, not the 3rd time, right, Jimmy? So I still have time, to have a great race.
And Billy, did you sign up?
Hell to the motherfucking no. That's the cruelest thing you could do. I'm walking around, my feet are shattered, my knees and my quads are super achy. I've had half a dozen people say to me, like, what's wrong with you, man? I'm going down, like, stairs, grabbing onto the rails, and then you're like, oh yeah, let's do this all over again. Oh, thank you. But as a certain someone told me, like, don't, like, never say never. Don't dismiss it right away. Because all of yesterday, I was like, anybody within earshot, I was like, no way, I'm never doing this again, never doing this again. And then noon rolls around, or 11:59 rolls around, and I'm like, But no, I didn't sign up.
Guillaume, when's the next time you're going to run?
In 3 weeks, UTMB. It's going to be fun too.
Yeah, no big deal. UTMB, jeez.
I mean, yeah, I'm very excited because so I'm going back to France. So for 3 weeks, I will see also all my family, and my family will be there again. So yeah, it should be nice. I mean, it's going to be very different, colder, I guess, than California, but I'm very excited about it.
And Jimmy, your next race? I know it's another 100. It's coming up quick. Which one is it?
The Leadville Trail 100 is in Colorado in 11.2 days.
What is your plan between now and then? Rest, recover, sleep, train?
I have a great team of people who care for me. I have a active release therapist, sports chiropractor, acupuncturist, massage therapist, and I go visit all of these people at least once in between the races, and I end up going to more therapy sessions than I do actual training runs. In between Vermont, which was 2.5 weeks ago, and Angeles Crest, my total mileage didn't even accumulate to 20 miles for the 2-week period total. And so, but my time in therapy was about 6 or 7 hours.
Wow. Billy, what's next for you? I know that's probably difficult to think about. Do you have anything on the calendar?
Lots of editing. Lots of just, achieving balance again in life, where weekends aren't dedicated to just spending hours upon hours in the mountains, but I mean, I love, especially with my friends, my bros. But yeah, this was, I won't be so quick to say it's one and done, but I need balance, man. Like, this 100-miler stuff is no joke. Like, if you want to do well, like, you have to commit a lot to it.
Absolutely. So before we move into the post show, because I think this is probably a good opportunity to end the regular show, but then we'll move into the post show. If you guys have any questions while you're watching live, please ask them in the chat room, and we'll get to our guests here, because we have some excellent runners with tons of advice. So if you guys need any sort of advice or anything like that, you've got Guillaume, one of the fastest damn mountain runners that we know. We got Jimmy Dean, one of the most experienced mountain runners. He's done hundreds. He's done 50 miles, 100Ks. He has a resume to boot. We've got Billy Yang, who knows so little but is so funny.
Fuck yeah.
I'm just kidding. Just really, really 3 talented, amazing guys. So ask those questions before we get to the post show. And I want to point out also, Billy, being a filmmaker, has you are releasing the Western States film by the end of summer. I don't want to put you on the spot, but people have been asking in the chat room, when can they expect to see Sally McRae's Western film?
It will, I'll have a better assessment because I haven't really touched it, especially in the past week or so. But hoping to like really bear down and complete it. It's a story that I love, that I love piecing together and telling because it's a lot of heart, which Sally is, and she gave. I drew upon a lot of that during this race for sure because Ethan, you were there. She just.
Sorry, Billy. Jimmy just doesn't even give a fuck anymore. No, he was gone. He just disappeared. I think he was taking his pants off.
No,
yeah, you're right. I was there.
I'm excited to tell the story, and really looking forward to, maybe even doing like a local screening and just having an excuse for the community to get together and share stories and talk to Sally. So we'll see. Right now I'll put more info out there if you guys want to follow. I added a page per Sally's Persistent Nagging Billy Yang Films on Facebook, so follow that and we'll post updates.
Awesome. Actually, that's a great dovetail too. Before we move into the post show, I want to plug everybody and where you live viewers can find these people on social media. I think it's a great way to interact with them, and they all are very interactive. I'm very fortunate to have these guys on the show because of the guests I've had, these are definitely some of the most active on social media, so you will definitely be able to interact with them. Guillaume, we'll start with you. Guillaume, where can people find you? I know that you have Twitter.
Yeah, I have Twitter, so it's G Calmettes. I guess you say G Calmettes. It's hard to write. So GCALMETTES. So just first letter of my first name and then Calmettes. So on Twitter, you can find me on Facebook. I have a public profile, and basically I accept everybody. And you can follow me on Strava too. That's it.
Yeah, definitely follow Guillaume on Strava.
Can't understand a word.
I didn't mention at the beginning of the show. If you have trouble hearing or understanding Guillaume, I'm very sorry. He has a very wonderful, delicious French accent. So while it might make the ladies excited, sorry for those gentlemen. But yes, follow Guillaume.
Hold on, Guillaume. Write that shit down and show it on the video so people can actually find you.
Yeah.
Guillaume. Well, I described. I'll describe where they can find you, Guillaume, if you want to write down your Twitter handle, just so people can actually see it physically. But yes, follow Guillaume on Strava if you want to feel lazy. Guillaume has one of the most incredible Strava profiles just because his training is insane. Just look back over the months to see him leading up to AC, and he's a perfect example of someone who trained in that 10-20% per week sort of style. He came off an injury early in 2014, but has this beautifully structured training regime, and you can see him gain all this mileage all the way leading up to AC, and it obviously paid off. So go check it out. It'll make you feel slow and lazy, and that's the best part because you're just going to end up working harder, which is inspiring.
His work ethic is unparalleled. He's where he is because he just getting the axe out and chopping wood all day. He's going to work. So, big ups to Guillaume. And I understood every damn word you were saying, unlike Jimmy.
Guillaume, what do you do for a job? You actually have a day job. What is it that you do again?
So I'm a researcher at UCLA. All right, the French flag.
The most amazing family, Guillaume. Your family is so amazing, so supportive.
That is why I so badly want to run a European race. I feel like I see that at every stretch of the race. It's awesome.
Yes, Jimmy Dean. You've been on the show before, you've plugged it, but where can the live viewers find you, my friend? You are also extremely active on social.
My home address is 11. No, I'm just kidding. On Twitter and Instagram, I am at Coach Jimmy Dean. Facebook is just Jimmy Dean Freeman, and the blog is inspiredrunning.blogspot.com.
And if you are in the Los Angeles area, Jimmy also coaches. He also has an amazing running group, the Coyotes, the SoCal Coyotes, and they run every Thursday morning at 6 a.m., you know, like badasses.
6:10.
Wake up in the morning. 6:10 a.m. They have some socializing time. But you can follow them on their Facebook group, and they will tell you where they are starting their run, and it's for all levels. It doesn't matter if you're a fast runner, slow runner, a beginner. So definitely check those out. It's a great community to belong to. And there's a lot of Coyotes out there in AC doing some incredible things this weekend as well. So shout out to all those guys. David Villalobos had an incredible day.
Oh, yeah.
And Billy Yang, Mr. Billy Yang, where can people find you?
The main things I would plug is Twitter and Instagram. It's LA Runner, LARUNR, and like I mentioned, Billy Yang Films on Facebook. That's about it. LARunner.com. That's where I'll put my race report with less tears and more pictures and stuff. So
we'll be able to see the tears in your writing, and you can also go to YouTube.com. YouTube.com/Billy Yang Film. Subscribe to that channel because he will be releasing his Western States film in weeks, or towards the end of the summer or whatever. You'll be able to find updates on that, but he will release it there on the YouTube channel. You won't want to miss it. I guarantee you won't want to miss it. The trailer is already up, and the trailer's like, fuck, this is going to be good. So you're going to want to watch that. All right. Again, since my tech this week hasn't been very good, I'm just going to move into the post show because I can't actually show you any credits or anything like that, so I'm just going to have to sing it. There's Ginger Runner. All right, so just like that, we're now into the post show, and make fun of you. That's terrible. I can't believe I even just said that. That's an awful thing. If you're watching live, ask your questions. We have 3 amazing guests. I already saw some questions in the chat room. I'm going to scroll up a little bit. If you guys, I know that Jimmy, Guillaume, and Billy have also been in the chat room, so if you see it, because I might have missed some. Sebastian Durandu says, for some reason, I understand Guillaume very well, and I'm guessing by the name, it's possibly that they are also French. Guillaume is an amazing runner, killer Strava stats, but inspiring, says Raoul Engel. Guillaume, you're killing it, man. People love some Guillaume. Danielle Langlois says, oh, I just lost it. It just scrolled up. I added you on Facebook, not in a creepy way, Guillaume, just to follow your running pics. You should get an Instagram. Guillaume, where's your Instagram? You don't have one?
The same. Yeah, but I mean, I don't have a smartphone, so I don't post any picture. I'm still old school.
Wait. Wait, what? You don't have a smartphone?
I'm like Zach Bitter.
no, Zach Miller, not
Zach Miller, yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, that thing might as well be a suitcase. That thing is old.
So no reason to change.
I love it.
For someone that you're like a rocket scientist in your day-to-day job, and for someone that runs so much, I would think you'd have a smartphone. Nope. We got to get a Kickstarter going and get Guillaume a smartphone. We should do like a hashtag smartphone for Guillaume. Smart Guillaume phone. Whatever, we'll figure it out. You guys need to tell the story of David Villalobos helping a down motorcyclist during the race. That's crazy. Jimmy, do you know that story?
I do. And there was a request from Danielle in the chat room that the rest of you dudes take your shirts off to show solidarity. So I think before we get into these stories, our listeners would be inspired by the rest of you taking your shirts off.
Can we get Kate, your wife, to participate? Is she there?
So, Billy, it's funny you should mention that. I will tell the David Villalobos story, and then I will tell you the Kate. Maybe I won't tell the Kate shirtless story. I'm not sure.
Why?
All right, so the Villalobos story comes out of Cloudburst Summit, which is mile 38, and Dave was having an amazing race, trained his ass off, really put together a great plan, and about a mile out of the Cloudburst Summit checkpoint, a motorcyclist went off the road and fell down the side of this like steep embankment, and it must have been maybe 150 feet. For those of you Frenchies, about 50 meters.
48 meters, yeah.
48.7 meters, and there was a unconscious man who was the motorcycle rider on the actual course, on the trail. And Dave came running up, must have been moments after it happened, and the guy sort of started to come to. And David Villalobos, sort of communicated with him for a couple sentences, and then Dave ran his ass off to get back to the aid station, which at this point is now, around a mile back uphill. Gets to the Angeles Crest Highway, the two highway that the road crosses, the race course crosses over at mile 38, and he flags down a sheriff's car to call for help. So I'm climbing my way out of Cooper Canyon. I'm probably like a couple miles away from the checkpoint at this point, and I see this massive helicopter come flying over. Well, another story for another time. The last time I was at Cooper Canyon in Cloudburst with a helicopter flying over, it was a search and rescue mission looking for Kate, my wife, Katie DeSplinter, and Peter Williams, who was crewing out there this weekend. And I had a total flashback, and I went into sort of like a mild panic attack, thinking that someone was hurt, and the helicopter was there trying to save one of the AC runners. And then I found out moments later that Villalobos had discovered this motorcycle accident and run back on the course to alert help. So here he was running a couple extra miles. He regroups after all of that. The search and rescue, the helicopter picks this guy up and takes him to the hospital. I get, a mile down the trail, mile 38, and I see the motorcycle and the debris from the motorcycle all over the trail. And it was kind of disturbing to see and kind of threw me off my game for a little while. Yet Villalobos continues on to crush the course and finishes in 21:59, in spite of the fact that he helped maybe save a guy's life in the middle of his race.
Just incredible. An incredible story that not many people that were racing even had a clue about, because by the time that happened, a lot of it got cleared out before half the field even got there. But just insane. Now, Guillaume, I know you have to go. You have a party literally going on in your house. So we're going to let you go in just a second. There was a question in the chat room. I think you answered it in the chat room, but for those who might be listening in podcast form or just listening live, a specific diet for the 170-mile week or training up to this. Did you have any specific diet, or was there anything that you ate that's different than normal?
No, I just ate more in quantity, but I have no special diet. I mean, I just try to eat healthy, but yeah, I just eat a lot.
And there's another question for you, Guillaume. Do you eat real food on runs, or do you prefer gels, Tailwind, or anything else? What do you eat on runs?
I mean, I tried both. So, for example, Gorge Waterfall 100K, I was just on gels and protein bars. And for AC, I tried the almond butter sandwiches after seeing your show, actually, with Dean Carnegie. And yeah, I mean, I mixed. I mean, and during AC, I mean, sometime I could eat only gels, sometime I could eat only solid food, so I mixed it.
Awesome. I'll let you get back to your party, man.
Thanks, man.
Go give love to your family. Your family was incredibly supportive, and I wish I could have spoke with them. I just don't speak French. Tell them they're amazing. Tell them they're amazing.
They know that.
For sure. For sure.
All
Thank
right.
you, Guillaume.
Congrats, Guillaume.
Bye. Congrats, everybody. All the finisher.
You too, Ben.
Yes, good.
And we'll get Guillaume on a future episode for sure.
What's going on behind Jimmy?
Oh, what? Look at that. Again, they're not shirtless. None of them are shirtless, but we've made up for the party in the background. Both Billy and I now feel completely terrible. We have parties behind us. What an incredible story about David. That's just nuts. But you also mentioned something about search and rescue with your wife and Katie, and that's nuts.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Back in 2009, the weekend after I had run my first Western States, there was an Angeles Crest 100 official training run, and there was a carpool arrangement that I had entered into with a certain famous ultra runner that I won't name, and they had to leave earlier than they anticipated getting that section of the course done, so we ended up without a carpool back to our car. So I had to abandon the run because I had just run the weekend before, and I was the only person who knew the course. So Kate, my wife, Katie DeSplinter, a pretty well-known Southern California ultra runner, and Peter Williams, another buddy of ours, they made a wrong turn in Cooper Canyon and ended up running 5 or 6 miles further down the Burkhart Trail towards Palmdale. And we were waiting at Cloudburst Summit for them, and hours went by, and it started to get dark. So we all dispersed and drove our cars to the different points that the Pacific Crest Trail meets the highway, and we went to the Burkhart Trail, and there were 3 or 4 of us there, and we were all looking at different trailheads, and they weren't coming out. And one of the guys that was with us, Vinny, flagged down a sheriff and got the search and rescue engaged. So by the time I got back to Cloudburst Summit, these 2 cops that were, I swear to God, were like Reno 911 because they were so serious I couldn't take them seriously.
Oh, wow.
They're like, hey, please describe the victims. And I said, I'm not going to talk to you guys until you stop calling them victims. And the next thing you knew, a huge helicopter was flying over Cooper Canyon looking for my wife and Katie DeSplinter and Peter Williams. There's a video out there that I'll have to find, Ethan, on Flickr. And Peter Williams had video of the 3 incidents, like where they were having a great time and sort of goofing off in a creek, and then the next thing that they realized that they were lost. And then the 3rd video, there's a helicopter flying overhead, and Peter's freaking out on the camera and communicating with the helicopter.
Oh shit!
And it's all sort of a funny story now because everybody was okay and they just got lost. But at the time, man, I was like totally freaking out. And so the search and rescue story this weekend had initially sort of a better feel to it because it wasn't anybody in the race, and then David, who we know and love, really helped a dude out, and they said that, I haven't gotten any report on the motorcyclist, but he could have saved his life. So
well, we actually a group of us, to add to this realness, like a pack of runners I have no business being around, like Kira and Robert and a couple other fast dudes, we actually got held back about 5 minutes while they were clearing the debris or airlifting the man out of there. But we came upon the medic who was down on the trail, and he told us, he was injured, but he thinks he's going to be okay. So.
Yeah, I remember hearing that as well. And yes, I forgot about that too, Billy, is that a large group of runners got held for a good 5 minutes while they were cleaning up the crash. The road is, 100 feet or... What did you say, Jimmy? How much higher is the road than that particular section of trail?
I would have estimated that the 2 highway was about 150 feet above, like 50-ish meters. It was a pretty good distance.
It's actually a fairly well-known stretch of Highway 2 through that mountain range as being pretty prone to accidents, both car and motorcycle related. I think Uncle Hal referred to it as motorcycle graveyard or something, or it has some name specifically around that. I mean, there was an AC training run a month and a half ago, that took place through that section. And when I got to Cloudburst myself, I didn't have it in the video that I actually posted from our first training for Squamish, but it was that day. Search and rescue helicopter saving a motorcyclist out of that exact same canyon. It was just crazy to see that helicopter again while we were waiting at the aid station. It was like, oh, this isn't good. There was either an accident on that same stretch or, something happened.
It's frustrating as a motorcyclist. I ride a motorcycle. I haven't ridden those particular mountains yet, but it was a very popular area for the twisties. But if you're not prepared, or if you're under capable and you hit those, I mean, there's some really nasty turns up there. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Unfortunately, it's a way too common occurrence, but I wish people kind of knew their limitations.
And it's a really popular road for motorcyclists, but the thing is a lot of motorcyclists think that they're pros, and they go out there and they just ride reckless, and bad things happen. You see guys all the time wearing the full leather kits and stuff, and you're just like, you're not a professional. It's just dangerous, and that goes for car drivers too. A lot of people just aren't trained to the abilities that they need to drive fast on those roads, and it's also illegal to drive fast on those roads. But whatever. That aside, Billy got held for 5 minutes, so technically, Billy, sub 24, baby, you got it, no problem.
Thanks.
Jimmy, how are you feeling today, Jimmy? Are you? I mean, you're not recovered, are you? I mean, are you eating properly and like all that kind of stuff? What happens to you after a race?
Well, AC this year was one of the most grueling races over the last few years that I've done. It was the first time I battled sleep demons since probably 2011. So I did a crap ton of Red Bull in the last 25 miles. And I packed Red Bulls in my drop bags for mile 83 and mile 89. And then, I passed out last night at about 8 p.m. and I slept I woke up 7 hours later thinking I had slept 7 minutes because I had not moved in position. And I've been up since 3 a.m. today because I woke up, was wide awake, I couldn't go back to sleep. My feet hurt like hell, so at 3 a.m. I got up and I stuck my feet in a hot Epsom soak and then iced them and tried to attend to some of the toenail problems. And there was a question in the chat room about how many toenails I have left. Through the first 3 races, I had lost 4 of the 10, and I lost a fifth. I lost a fifth one. I lost a fifth one at AC and totally did more damage to one of the big toenail roots because the toenail hasn't come fully out. It's just blown out the back.
Oh.
So my feet are the worst of things. I'm really badly sunburned, which is I'm still trying to wrap my head around because the sun was blocked all day.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not wearing a shirt. My shoulders hurt so much that I can't even bear the thought of putting a shirt on.
Yeah.
I'm not like Billy Yang, running shirtless all the time, and so this is kind of weird for me to not be able to wear a shirt.
But you also, I think I remember a message, this was before Leona Divide 50 miler last year, my first 50 miler. I was terrified because it was going to be a hot day, it's going to be very sunny, and I just remember being terrified of the heat and all that kind of stuff. But I still, slathered sunscreen and stuff on me. But you put out some sort of message on social media like, hey, if you're running the Leona Divide 50 and you're worried about the heat, just remember if you apply sunscreen, it needs to be oil-free or it needs to be sweatable. Like you need to be able to sweat through it. So if you haven't trained with that type of sunscreen, the sport stuff blocks your pores.
If it says ultra sweatproof, it's basically like you're putting on 2 more shirts because your body won't be sweating efficiently and evaporatively cooling in its normal mode, and that was my scientific definition.
It's brilliant. But you were talking about how it's much better to be sunburned than to have no sweat at all or something, right? I forget what the exact wordage was.
Yeah, and I'll probably be saying that until I get skin cancer on my shoulders, and I put sunscreen on my face, below my eyes, nose, ears, cheeks, chin, and face when I don't have all this weird stuff on my face. But I don't put it on my arms and shoulders and legs unless there's some rare circumstances. But I declined to put it on, and now I'm sunburned as hell. So there you go.
Yeah, Billy, you don't even have to worry about that, right? You're pretty tan.
No, I kind of, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of tuned out during all the scientific oil-based talk, but sunscreen's a must for sure. I mean, I definitely got my fair share. I mean, even when it's cloudy, you got UV rays going through, so you always should try to be very liberally sunscreened up before runs.
This is in the chat room from Karthik Balarkashanan. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but it is amazing. Your name is amazing. This is for everybody. I need your advice. I'll be running the North Face Endurance Challenge, San Francisco. It's my first 50K in December. That was also my first 50K, so nice. Good choice. But nursing a calf strain. What are your top 3 tips?
If I had an injury, I would try to rest as much as possible and do non-impact type of activities like getting on a bike, spin bike, or in the pool, and I would be going to massage and active release therapy type appointments to help break up any of the adhesions and incorporate things that will help the blood flow to that area.
Billy, you ever had anything like this?
Well, I can only speak from experience. I would say do everything you can to get to that starting line as healthy as possible. I mean, case in point, look at me. I had a knee injury, and for a few months now, and I did everything I could to strengthen that area. Saw Michael Shamoon, our friend and PT, a few times for it, and it's just you have no shot if you can't make it to the starting line. At least you have a shot if you can do everything you can to minimize the damage to get to the starting line healthy. And that was so important for me this year, was to make it to the starting line healthy.
Yeah, Billy's a great. I mean, just look at Billy. You even said that your training was less than optimal going into AC 100 because you were working on an injury to your knee. You wanted to make sure that you got to that start line healthy. Even if you were a little bit undertrained, you wanted to make sure that you didn't have the issues that you've been having on training runs and stuff like that. And look at your finish. I mean, like, that's testament to the fact that you don't need to go out there and rock all the training and get all that extra mileage only to end up more injured than you started to get to the start line and get to that start line healthy. And that's my advice, and it follows both Billy and Jimmy. Get it healthy. Do whatever you need to do to get it healthy. If it's really, really bad, don't run on it. Find other activities that maybe don't aggravate it as much. Spinning, putting a bike on a trainer, indoor trainer, something like that. Just getting that exercise, getting your heart rate up for a long duration of time. It's going to be fine. But then also finding maybe someone who does ART or someone who does some sort of massage or anything to get in there and to work on it. Figure out if it's bad enough where you really need to dig in there, and then take the time and the rest that you need to make sure that it's right.
Yeah, Sally's another person who had an injury that she had to kind of deal with and treat leading up to Western States, and she had a hell of a race. I think Vargo had an Achilles thing a while back too, and he spent a lot of time pool running and elliptical and doing things he could do to get healthy, and the fitness was still there, so don't stress out too much about the fitness as long as you're doing some other things. Get healthy first.
Yeah, totally. And actually, Sally's still in the chat room, so she can probably provide some of the same information. But yes, take care of it before it gets worse, which will take you out of the race completely. That's not what you want. You obviously want to go toe that start line and finish it, yes, but just make sure that it's good before you even start adding. I'm going to let you guys go. I know that I've been holding you for quite a while. I appreciate both of you sticking around so much. One last time, where can people find you on social media? Billy, we'll start with you. Let us know.
Okay. Like I said, LA Runner, LARUNR on Twitter and Instagram. I love Instagram. I'm probably on there way too much than it's healthy. And Billy Yang Films just created the page on Facebook. Please like it. We'll share more info about Sally's project, Josh's project, and a bunch of other stuff. Hopefully do later this summer and fall, now that I have some more time. And yeah, Strava, I'm on there too. But yeah, those are the main ones.
Nice. And Jimmy, go for it.
I just want to reiterate and remind you, find and like Billy Yang Films on Facebook.
Thanks,
just
buddy.
did myself. Twitter, Twitter and Instagram are both at Coach Jimmy Dean. Are you clapping at me right now?
No, I'm clapping at Spirit because she's digging the
I'm getting clapped at over here. My wife is hungry and impatient. She's the most patient person ever. Just kidding, baby. Facebook is Jimmy Dean Freeman, and the blog is inspiredrunning.blogspot.com, and our party is about to get started here, and we gotta go. Hold on. Spirit, come here.
We gotta see Spirit. We met Spirit last time on the show. I think it's a great opportunity to see him again, or see her again.
And really quick, for me bringing up his wife topless, I was set up for that. Jimmy apparently had a story, so it's not me being pervy. Hey, there's Spirit.
Hey, Spirit. Hey, Spirit.
Spirit.
Hey, girl.
Hey guys, just so you know, Spirit is the only topless girl on the show
I
today.
understand. What?
As you Kate in the back.
Hi.
Hi, Kate.
Hi, Kate. Hi, Spirit. Hi, George.
Hi.
George, say bye to everybody, George. Bye.
Great running with you, George.
George, Billy said it's great running with you.
Yeah.
George had an amazing life. Absolutely amazing.
Bye.
All right.
I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on at Jimmy's house. I don't know what's going on at Jimmy's house, but it sounds like a fucking party, and that's a perfect opportunity to let Jimmy go and let Billy go, and let you all go for the night. I appreciate you very much, friend. It sounds like a freight train is driving through his apartment. Thank you all so much for tuning in.
Technical difficulties and the best show ever.
Best show ever. You guys are amazing for watching live. Tune in next Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time when I'm going to be talking about the Squamish 50-50, which is the following weekend. It's coming up. I'm freaking out. I'm shitting my pants. Cannot wait. You can find me on all the social networks over on Twitter at The Ginger Runner, on Facebook, facebook.com/TheGingerRunner, and of course, GingerRunner.com. And guess what? I finished my album art for the Ginger Runner album. I can't believe I actually am saying that. That seems weird. But that will be on iTunes this week, and you'll be able to download and buy all the music. It has been featured in all of the Ginger Runner films up to this point, which is very exciting and weird. But it is a thing, and I'm really excited about it. So you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in live. Make sure that you follow both Billy and Jimmy on all the social networks, as well as Guillaume. Guillaume is amazing for stopping by and tuning into the show as well. I appreciate all of you watching. If you're listening to the podcast, you're also great, and I hope you're enjoying your run. We'll see you guys next week on Ginger Runner Live. That is it. Bye.